Well, I have to tell you a story that is so sweet and golden and hilarious that be prepared to pull yourself away from the microphone because there will be outbursts of laughter.
Okay, I mean, this is the perfect place for it. I'm
so
excited.
this past Saturday there was Carl, the place where Carl works.
Oh yes,
at a golf tournament,
the taxidermy factory.
Yes. Now, which is strange because instead of cleaning your ball with the typical like microfiber, they give you pelts, but it's fine. It doesn't either way. It doesn't matter. This is a golf tournament that you and I have participated in before. I think, have you not also been a part of it in just like a volunteer capacity at some point?
So yeah, I definitely have been a part of it. I think I've only actually been a contestant. Like, I do not think I've volunteered.
Okay. All right. No worries.
Yeah.
But
maybe
so
next time.
we've been a part of it.
Yep.
We've been a part of it on the same team.
Yes.
Yep. Oddly enough, never you, Carl, and I. It's a little like.
I feel like not getting too deep into it. Like on this podcast, you and I are the A team. In life, maybe we're the B team because it seems like Carl has his own group that he's got a team with, and we're just kind of like,
right?
Hey, figure it out.
We're like, okay, well, we'll go hang out with Aaron, friend of the podcast,
husband of friend of the podcast.
Yes. So, anyways, we're there. We're at the golf tournament, and it is a redneck golf tournament,
right?
Meaning that there are many people who are dressed up in costume. Right. And therefore, like hats and sunglasses and it's not always easy to recognize people.
Depending on how far out, like some people, their costume is pretty minimal and it's easy. And some people it's very, very difficult to say who was that? I have no idea.
Sure. But I mean, if you throw a ball cap and a set of aviators on, there are some celebrities that would treat that as a disguise to go out in public.
Yeah, right? For sure.
So anyways, I'm standing out front of the golf club, the clubhouse, and Carl comes out of the clubhouse, walks up to a man who I have never seen before in my life.
Nice.
And Carl has also never seen before in his life.
Okay.
And full tilt, as strong as he can, slaps this guy in the ass.
Carl does?
Carl does. Slaps this guy right in the ass.
Okay. Little bold, little out there.
It's, it's an introduction.
It catches the attention.
And so the guy, I don't know, either says something or recoils or does, whatever you do in that situation.
Sure, as one does, yeah.
And what that does is alerts Carl that this is not who he thinks it was.
Oh.
And Carl says, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought you were my friend." To which I respond, "Well, he is now." And Carl's dying laughing, and Carl says, "I'm really sorry. I thought you were Pete."
What? Who was this?
And this guy laughing goes, "I am Pete."
What?
And now Carl's on the floor, like, trying not to pee because he sees this guy who he thinks is you.
Yeah. Okay.
Goes up, slaps him in the ass.
Sure.
Realizes it's not you.
Right.
Apologizes, tells him that he thought that he was someone named Pete. Turns out this guy's name is also Pete. And it ended up not being a big deal. He's like, it's all good. However, I didn't see that guy again for the rest of the day. So and this was right at the beginning, so he may have just like, screw this and left.
He's like, enough is enough.
Enough is enough. I thought this was a family event. I
brought my kids.
I brought my kids. Yeah. I just recovered from glute surgery. Yeah. Like I don't.
Who knows?
It could have been any number one of. But I just so you know, in spirit, you were slapped in the ass Saturday.
Wow. I think that's funny because of the two of us, between Carl and I usually have the handsy reputation between us when we go out. Like when we saw Spider-Man Far From Home and certain celebrities came on screen that I was surprised to see. Wasn't that, it wasn't a full butt slap, but it was like a grabbing his arm and kind of like, holy crap. Oh. So,
well, and his upper thigh, the way he tells it.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. But it was...
Right.
It was...
Which is also odd because reputation-wise, between you and Carl, like outside of going and seeing new movies, you are by far the more self-contained, reserved, conservative one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Up until Tobey Maguire's on the screen, and then you lose all sense of
self-control.
And decency.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome.
Welcome to the Movie Man Podcast. I am Peter, and my co-host, who sometimes dresses like a redneck, is Brady.
Yeah. Sometimes.
And we are here for a new release. We're here to talk Wolves.
Yeah.
Not Wolves of Wall Street.
It's actually Wolves. Like
Wolves. Yeah, that's right. With an F.
Yeah. It's grammatically,
It's
wrong.
It's you're tending to want to say it properly like wolves, but it's really not.
It's wolves. Yeah.
Wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing wrong with this movie. But moving on.
Yeah. So Wolves, 2024 film, thriller comedy, starring a few familiar faces. Shall we break it down? Shall we get into it?
Yeah, well, let's give a spoiler warning because this is a new film.
Film, completely spoiler. So we're in the opening lines. We'll spoil things, and that's fair game. I will say, as a housekeeping, Brady, if you're going to spoil a separate movie, say, "Hey, I'm gonna spoil Cats." Skip ahead 30 seconds if you don't want me to spoil Cats. But anything related to Wolves, we will spoil without apology.
Right. The Titanic sinks, Frodo destroys the ring, and Vader is Luke's father. And technically Frodo doesn't destroy the ring, but
correct.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So initial impressions. I remember seeing the trailer for this film some time back.
I believe I saw the trailer when I saw Twisters.
Okay. Maybe. I think I saw the trailer before that on YouTube.
Oh, okay, sure.
And I remember thinking, oh, okay. I smell what you're stepping in. That's interesting.
Right? I don't know if I've ever heard that. Like, what do you mean by that saying?
Well, what do you
I
mean
smell what you're stepping in. Like, is that good or bad?
Yeah, I am picking up what you're putting down.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if it was like a good or a bad thing.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
And I was like, okay, you've got Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
But you have Silver Fox George Clooney, and make no mistake, I would lick cream cheese off the back of George Clooney's knees. Like the man is just.
That's a little weird.
He is just a fox.
Yeah. Listen, I don't think he's bad looking. I don't think he's good looking. I'm just impartial, but I'm not going to lick anything off of him, to be clear.
Oh, really? But here's the thing. Given the opportunity.
No.
Like, in all honesty,
circumstance.
actual George Clooney.
Correct. No.
Oh, see, I would do that for free. And it wouldn't even have to necessarily be George Clooney. I'd just be like, I don't know why I'm licking cream cheese off the back of a celebrity's knees, but
that's weird.
Undoubtedly, this is also my key to obtaining some sort of fame.
Well, Tommy Wiseau, if you're listening, Brady has an offer for you.
I said someone who's famous. So, geez. So I was fascinated, right? Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, Then I saw it was being made by Apple Studios. Now, I am not an Apple fan.
No.
Not just of their products, but I have some issues with some of their company values and their approach to doing business in general.
Okay.
That's fine. Neither here nor there. They've made some things. They're the studio behind Spirited, and I really liked Spirited.
Yeah.
And they've done some films that are flops that people don't like and have bashed. Things like Napoleon, the newer Joaquin Phoenix film. Apparently, Napoleon is just dreadful.
I've never watched it. I was so intrigued and I never got around to it. And I've heard similar things that it was not great.
So they've made some garbage. They've made some films that I think are excellent. And then there's this film. And this film, I was thinking about it today and I was like, how do I encapsulate how I feel about this film? And I think this film, the metaphor that I want to use
of note, I have a metaphor too, so I'm happy.
Oh, perfect. I feel like someone went to their kitchen cupboards in their fridge and they're like, I got to make a meal. What am I going to make? And they looked at all the ingredients they had, right? And they had eggs, and they had milk, and they had garlic, and they had cheese, and they had fresh jalapenos and onions.
Nice.
And then they checked the cupboard, and there's, some other stuff. There's pasta and peanut butter, and they've got some bread and bagels, and it just the works, right?
Yeah.
Like they've got a bunch of stuff.
This sounds great. What are they going to make?
But they decide on cheddar jalapeno omelets. Right? They're like, ooh,
okay.
I've got cheese, I've got eggs, I've got jalapenos.
Okay.
That could be, sort of like a spicy twist on an omelet. Like I'll punch it up. And everyone in the house goes, oh, that sounds great. And looking at the ingredients that you have available to you, that sounds like an excellent idea. And so the guy sets out and he starts making this omelet, right? He's got the eggs, he's got the cheese, he's got the onions and the peppers and whatever. And it's all garlic powder and it's all coming together. It looks beautiful. And then he grabs a peanut butter. And then he grabs some ramen seasoning packets. And then he grabs... And suddenly what... in principle should have been something wonderful because on paper it sounded good and all of the correct ingredients were there. They also kind of lost sight of the finish line and tried to overcomplicate something that could have been simple but pure and wonderful as a result of its simplicity. And instead, they ended up with this Frankensteined together crap that did have those good ingredients in there, but they were sort of muted in the final product by all this other crap that shouldn't have been. That's my initial impression. It's a little convoluted. It's a little lengthy. It's a little bloated, but that's my initial impression. This movie is peanut butter in an omelet.
I'm not sure if I'd want peanut butter in an omelet. I'm not sure I wouldn't want it, but I completely understand your point. I understand what you're trying to say.
Perfect.
I think it's of interesting note before I give my initial impression. Coincidentally, while we were talking about Spider-Man, this is from the same director who gave us the Tom Holland Spider-Man series. The trilogy,
yes,
sorry.
Mark Webb.
No, John Watts.
John Watts. Mark Webb did the Amazing Spider-Mans. Yes, you are right.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Anyway.
It was a test. You passed. Yeah, Sam Raimi.
Of note, so here's my metaphor. I think my metaphor, so just in a nutshell, I think we have some things in common, and if our distaste for this movie, I don't think I'm as strong. I think I thought it was okay. I don't think it was a steaming pile of garbage. But I think it was like a roller coaster that I was on board for it, and I was excited for it. And kind of as things were going and progressing in this movie, I was kind of waiting for, okay, when is that snap going to happen where things, we're getting everything laid out, the characters, the plot. When are things just going to accelerate? And that's where we really get cooking, and it really gets fun. It gets really entertaining. It really gets going. And it stayed at about the same level. So instead of a roller coaster finally going in its loops and circles and inverts and upside downs,
it's just a journey.
Like instead of this crazy journey, it's more just like it went from like it was more a roller coaster at a kiddie land where it just went in a flat circle several times, and you're going, oh, yeah, like that was it. That was it. Yep. It wasn't going to get more intense. It wasn't going to get any more crazier. So I think my initial impression is that it really kind of fell flat, or at least didn't accelerate like I thought it would. I think the two main kind of counter things are, I think the plot was way too convoluted. I think maybe you kind of hinted towards this, but it really could have excelled if they had gone more for simplicity and journey.
Yeah, too many ingredients.
Then the ingredients. They really tried to make it a little too smart, a little too convoluted, and it was really to the problem of the movie that, I'm having to pause the movie for a second going, okay, in real time, what are they coming to? What are they deciding? Some of these action thrillers, when we review the Mission Impossible movies, sometimes the simplicity is perfect. I know sometimes film needs to be complex, but sometimes for an action thriller, you want to have a plot and an action and an objective so simple that if you have to get up and walk away, you can come back and you still know what everyone's motivations are and what's happening and the significance of something. And that can be great storytelling. So I thought it got too convoluted, but at the same time it had these two great compelling characters that I thought were fun, that I thought grew on each other, thought fed off each other. So I think it was like good paired with bad, so I think that was at play. I thought it was fun that it was told in almost real time, like it's just one night that's happening. I liked the color palette. It felt like, if I had to summarize it, felt like a big neon light. Like it was just a really interesting lighting taking place.
It was a pretty movie. Visually. Yes. Visually, it reminded me of, and it's interesting because this is something that sometimes the streaming services do really well. It reminded me of, regardless of your opinions on plot and faithfulness to established canon and all of those things, most people would agree the Rings of Power show is stunning to look at.
Correct.
It's just pretty.
Yes.
And I was watching the most recent episode the other night, and I thought to myself, look, we have this new Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum film coming.
Right. Yeah.
And
sorry, do we have a year yet for release or no?
2026.
Okay.
And regardless of, it'll be interesting to see what they do with that, because they have some of the backlash or the sour taste in some people's mouths from the Hobbit films and the over reliance on CGI and stuff like that. However, there is lots of CGI and extended backgrounds and stuff like that in Rings of Power, but it's all flawless. Like it's just gorgeous to look at.
Yeah.
And so I just remember thinking to myself, look, however they approach the new one in terms of comedic relief, and if they make it too goofy, if they do whatever it is, I hope it looks like this. Right. Like I regardless of the substance, I hope visually the new Lord of the Rings looks and feels like this.
Yeah. So I would agree with what you said, and I would agree in this context, Wolves was visually good.
Yes.
I think what I would just say is two more things. There were some really interesting ties to Pulp Fiction, and I'll break that down a little bit more when we break down this whole film. And I was intrigued by it, and to no real significance. I don't think it's a detriment. I don't think it's a flaw, but there's some real ties to Pulp Fiction that I thought were interesting. But I think this is interesting is Carl sometimes gets on his bandwagon about, I wouldn't say it's anti-legacy sequels, but it's saying, why do we need a Matrix 4? Give us something that's similar, but a new IP. And for better, I would say Wolves is an example of it didn't really succeed, but I would say this is an example of that. We could have had an Oceans sequel. We truly could have. And I think that IP's maybe been a little bit beaten to death. So I think that it was interesting that they just said, let's reinvent the wheel. Let's do something else where we're getting this Oceans dynamic of Brad Pitt, George Clooney, where they're feeding off each other and having fun, and these characters grow, but it's a completely separate IP. So I thought it was interesting that it was a bit more of a fresh IP versus a legacy sequel, and sometimes Carl has talked about that on this show. Again, it didn't succeed. You and I think this film has its flaws, but instead of just knee-jerking going, let's make another Oceans like they did with making another Matrix movie, let's have the characters, or at least the actors that portray characters that are fun and we know work. Let's do that, but with a different IP. So I thought that was of note.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Interesting.
Where do you want to start? Like, do you have more to say on the color palette and the visuals? Because I like, maybe you do, maybe we don't, but that is like a first and foremost thing. I thought that if nothing else, we can appreciate the cinematography, the color palette, the lighting, the visuals. That all worked for me.
I mean, it definitely worked for me. There were several times where, regardless of what I thought about what was happening story-wise, or the direction that they were deciding to take the narrative, I was just stunned by whether it was how the shot was set up or the way that the lighting was done in the scene and the color grading, and like I just kept looking at it going, this is really pretty.
Yeah.
Like I'm enjoying just looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's about, I think, all I can really say on that.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple critique, but it's a positive one, which is that, it was great. I wouldn't have seen anything done differently in terms of that.
Yeah. I think it was well done, and it was, I don't know, I think I remembered this when I watched Nope, where, sometimes films set at night or films with key scenes set at night, sometimes you can have trouble following or tracking or appreciating what's happening on screen. And maybe that's more of a testament to either the theater you're going to having the dim bulb, or someone using their TV in their basement and it's not a great, maybe it's more a reflection on how we watch movies. But there are just sometimes night scenes in films and feature films that just don't translate that well. And this was not the case with this. It was pleasurable to just kind of be thrown in these nighttime visuals. And enough said.
No, I agree. So I do think the premise, if you strip the premise back to its barest bones, which and correct me if you feel like I'm missing the target with this premise, but the premise of two specialists whose job it is to make problems go away, to clean up messes, basically, cleaners.
Yeah.
Are both contracted to do the same job.
Mm-hmm.
They don't work, typically they don't work with others.
Correct. Lone wolves.
Yeah, and they're both contracted to do a job where a dead guy has been found, or there's a dead guy, and they need to resolve this, but they both have different methodologies or ways of approaching how they would do that.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's twists and developments and other things ensue. But that, I would say, is sort of the bare bones premise of the film. Can we agree on that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a brilliant premise. I think it's really strong. It's really funny. That is what the trailer conveys.
Correct.
Obviously, the trailer doesn't tell you that the guy's not dead and he wakes up.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And so that premise is exactly what the trailer kind of conveys.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, yes, I am in for that. And Brad Pitt and George Clooney, this could be great. And I even think the opening of this film is excellent. Right? Like them both arriving, their interactions inside the hotel room, especially George Clooney when he first arrives and we get to sort of see him at work, right? Asking the questions, giving the instructions, interacting with the client. I think that's all really strong. I think it's really wonderful. I enjoyed all that. Where I think this movie makes it's two errors. It's two deviations from genius that both set it down an irreversible and irredeemable path. One is the drugs. Not because I have an issue with drugs in movies. I don't.
Right.
But it's just it convolutes the plot. It's too much. Now all of a sudden it's not about the original. Now the whole contract has shifted.
Yeah.
Now it's about these drugs. The second big error that I think they made, and this is sort of a two-parter, but one is the fact that he's not actually dead. The fact that the guy wakes up. I don't like that. And then furthermore, I don't like that they lost sight of what the premise was, is that these are two guys who don't work together. They are an odd couple.
Right.
They are opposed.
And I'll use that to plug the recently released episode of
The new
you and
episode?
Carl reviewing The Odd Couple.
They are opposed on a personality level. And so I think if this entire film, and the reason why I was saying, there was a simple and pure approach to this that should have been kept. And that is two guys, an hour and a half, an hour and 45-minute long movie of these two guys who can't agree and don't work well together, that never have any actual common interest, right? The drugs become common interest. As soon as the drugs are introduced, and then what do we do with this guy, and all of a sudden their interests are aligning a little bit too much, as opposed to it just being they have the same objective, but both entirely self-serving interests. And so a full hour and a half or hour and 45 minutes where it's just these two guys who don't get along, they don't work well together, and they are disagreeing on how to dispose of this body and how to cover up the death so that it can't be traced back to this woman and it can't be traced back to the hotel. That is a funny movie. That is a movie that the trailer tells you are signing up for. That's the movie I thought I was signing up for, and I think that's a better movie. There are far too many moments in this film where, because they keep telling you, and it's like they realize they're not doing a good job of this, and so they have to keep building it into the dialogue of like, we're not partners. We don't work together. We don't get along. I don't like him. He doesn't like me. Because you're sitting there watching it and you're going, really? Because you're working together to get yourselves, you come up with this plan so that you can get yourselves out of the path of the Croatian at this wedding because you don't want him to know that you know each other. You both duck down in the car together when you realize that's a thing. You go into the bar where the guy's got to pick up a pager, right? This is all a plan. Like everyone's playing a role in this plan. And so there's just far too many times where it's like, I wish that they weren't partners was true, but there's far too many times where it's not true, and it's actually just them having trouble admitting it to themselves. And that wasn't like, yes, there's a story to tell there, but it wasn't the funny slapstick.
So there's,
have you seen The Hitman's Bodyguard?
I have not. I'll let you finish this, and then I want to piggyback on some things you're saying.
Yeah. So it's just Ryan. So The Hitman's Bodyguard is about.
Is that with
Ryan
Morgan
Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson?
Is it okay?
And Samuel L. Jackson is this guy, and I might be getting some of these details wrong, but it's a guy who has tried to kill Ryan Reynolds many times, and Ryan Reynolds has tried to kill him. Ryan Reynolds is a hitman in this film, or something like that. No, it's the other way around. Samuel L. Jackson is a hitman. He's scum. He's a bad guy. And Ryan Reynolds is the most elite form of hired protection you can get. And these two have crossed paths many times in the past. They hate each other. They don't get along. It's a total nightmare. Right up until right up until Ryan Reynolds is contracted to protect this hitman. Right? And so you have this whole film where these guys hate each other. But they're stuck together. They're bound together because their objective is the same. Right? The one guy's objective is don't die, and Ryan Reynolds' objective is don't let this guy die.
Sure.
But they don't have any shared interest. They don't like each other. They're not working towards a common goal. It's more of a common objective. And that is what this film should have been. Anyways, that's my rant. Go ahead.
I don't know. I think I would disagree with some of the things you said. I'd agree with something that struck a nerve that I would agree with is what the trailer was selling with what I was okaying and saying, yeah, that does look interesting, that does look funny. I will say, yes, it doesn't deliver quite how the trailer was making it look. But what I would say is I would disagree with the two things that you had problems with, in that you said the drugs was a problem. I don't necessarily have an issue with that, because that sets us on our motion, and I know maybe that could have been accomplished in other ways of just if we stuck with the simple objective, then yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe that keeps us with a more simplified plot, a more easier plot to follow that doesn't get convoluted. But I don't necessarily have an issue of if that's the catalyst that gets us going. I have an issue with a decision or two after the drugs where it turns into, we're getting double crossed and we're getting set up by this, and it turns out our contractor is both setting us up and maybe wanting to clean house like that. I think the drugs and how that kind of was a bit of a curveball was okay for me. It's the subsequent things that I had a problem with. The other,
sorry. So you have a problem with the fact that the reveal at the end is that they are getting cleaned? I liked that.
Listen, I don't have a problem with it, but it's also a little bit of it's also just different than what was advertised. Kind of like what you're saying, where I just want something funny and simple where they're going through this, and then throughout the movie, they're kind of always changing what they think is happening, and we don't truly know what's happening till at the very end in the diner where they say that, and then it's just snap and it's done.
Right.
The second thing that you had a problem with was the guy being alive, and how I would agree with, yes, I think maybe a different movie where it stayed like just monkey see, monkey do, where the guy's dead, that's their job, there's no drugs involved, and the parody and the fun coming from just the simple job that they were brought there to do would maybe be better.
It's a funny premise.
It's a funny premise, and I agree. Maybe there's merit in that. But what I would say in this, with having this character introduced and being part of this trio then, is the whole foundation of what makes these two characters good. Because plot aside of what we had issues with, what was strong was these characters, and that's their entire depth and their growth and their experiences. So just when you get into the nuances of that, they're aching, they've got sore backs, they're reaching for Advil, they've been around the block. And because they're so rich and ingrained and kind of fleshed out in that way, they then grow to actually empathize and care for this sucker, really. Like at first it's more like, yeah, we'll feed him to the wolves, so to speak. But they kind of grow conscience as they go throughout the movie till the end of the film, where they're like, okay, let's spare him. Let's make sure he doesn't blab. And, I think that emotional connection that they have with each other, that then they also extend to that kid, is really what that gives them an extra layer. Like it could have been just as fun of a movie where Brad Pitt and George Clooney are bantering at each other the whole time, but what takes them to the next level is this humanity that they have from seeing this kid who ended up not being dead. So I think the whole point that I enjoyed of the film was humanizing those two. And although the whole goal of the film didn't hit, the film humanizing these two people who normally would be quote unquote bad people, like helping murders or putting away people who've been killed accidentally, what have you, they were humanized. And I thought that was really done well. And it came from moments of, they're handing the pager to each other and we think it's a significant plot significance, and it's just they actually can't see, they don't have the reading glasses on. Came from moments like that humanized them, to the most poignant part where they actually care about this kid, and that's only because he wasn't dead.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. I think there's a couple of things. One, I think you can still achieve that with a third character who doesn't have to be this kid waking up. Because the second the kid wakes up, the premise of the film changes.
It does.
So this is a hotel. You could have, somehow on the way out of the hotel, a bellhop sees a little too much and he gets roped in, and they decide, instead of tying up loose ends, they decide to spare this bellhop who, for whatever reason, through creative storytelling, does get dragged along on this adventure with them, right? So, there's other ways to do that without fundamentally changing the premise of the film.
Sure.
The other thing is, like, I understand when it comes to storytelling, you need to have your main characters most of the time. Now, there's probably some exceptions to this, but most of the time, your main characters need to be some degree of likable.
Sure.
Even if their character type is, sort of bad to the core, bad person, does bad things, they need to be likable. Otherwise, you're not going to be invested and engaged with them. You're not going to root for them.
Yeah.
And so that's important. But I think humanizing them the way that they did is almost a little too cookie cutter for me. It's a little too, here's a great example is the John Wick films. John Wick doesn't have some sort of realization. He doesn't have some sort of great coming to by the end of the first John Wick film.
Right.
He is just as bad a dude as he was when it started, if not worse, because he's killed that many more people and he's gotten back into a game that he had gotten out of.
Right.
However, that John Wick film does a lot to humanize his character. You understand his conviction. You understand why he's doing the things that he does. You are shown conflict that he's facing, internal conflict, all of those things. He's still doing horrible things, but you can kind of understand how this person reached the point that he did where he's doing those horrible things.
Right.
And so there are ways to humanize a character and make a character likable and even root for a character without needing them to have some sort of come to Jesus moment.
Right.
where, they don't tie up a loose end.
Yeah.
Or they don't, whatever it is. They don't kill someone they should have killed, or they find
like there's the humanizing
likability in someone that they otherwise would not have found likability in.
Right. There's the humanizing and then the cliche character arc journey. And you're saying
there's humanizing and then there's
both.
Humanizing and then there's softening.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like our characters were softened in an attempt to, or in the process of humanizing them.
Right.
And I don't necessarily need that. Like, these guys are painted as, like, these are the guys, right? These are, and in my opinion, and maybe this is just because I like George Clooney more than I like Brad Pitt, but especially George Clooney is the guy. He is the guy you call. And he has done real shady shit.
Right.
And he still sleeps soundly at night on Egyptian cotton sheets. Like he this is not a guy that is necessarily tortured by what he does.
Yeah.
It's the job.
Yep.
This is what he does. And he's damn good at it.
Right.
And so I don't know. For me that was a part of it. But ultimately I just found that I these two weren't at each other's necks.
Right.
Enough. They seemed to either give in to the other's idea or were just on the same page or in agreement with the other one a little more often than they should have been, which inherently there goes all of your comedy, because the comedy of this, the comedic conceit of this film is two guys that don't get along. Right?
I don't think they get along.
But they work together. They decide
do you get along with everyone you work with?
No, but I mean, this is different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I work at a job where, sure, I take pride in my work, but I'm not a contract. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not that guy.
Right.
So I don't, and I'm also not a character in a comedy film
Right.
where the idea is, it's like Due Date or Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. If they weren't ready to, if at least one of the characters wasn't ready to kill the other character at all times, then Plane, Trains, and Automobiles or Due Date is not as funny as it is. Because whenever they're getting along, oh yeah, maybe sure it's a nice moment, but that's not where the comedy lies. The comedy in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is whenever they are opposed to the extreme.
Right.
And that just doesn't happen enough
in
this film that is supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah, in this film you're saying they're a little more placid in their...
Yeah, there's some funny moments.
Yeah.
In this film.
I'd say
Don't
there's
get me
a lot
wrong.
of funny moments.
The girl at the beginning, she pulls her purse out and gets splattered with blood, and like I thought that blood splatter was funny. I thought that was like, okay, I see the flavor of comedy that we're going for here, and that works. But then there was just a lot of other things too. Like, I've never seen a plot device or a plot point more beaten over the head's audience than the fact that these two are not as young as they used to be.
But
whether it's his knees creak and then his knees creak and then we both have to get glasses out. And
enjoyed it.
And we just keep revisiting it over and over.
I thought it was funny.
Every time?
Yes. Every time.
See, I just at a certain point, it was like, it just felt lazy to me. I was like, yeah, we get it. They're old. The glasses is what put it over the edge for me.
Oh, the glasses
we've already both seen them like hold their backs and complain that they're sore.
I think the glasses
all this stuff.
was the perfect one because when they passed the pager to each other, I thought it was for story significance, like they were going to be shocked by what number was there, where they couldn't even believe what it was and they had to pass it to the other person to look for themselves. And then when I realized it was the glasses that they needed, I laughed out loud.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, which is great. Like I will never judge you that something worked for you.
And it just didn't work for you, which is fair.
It just didn't work for me. Yeah.
So I do want to tell you the interesting connections to Pulp Fiction for me.
Sure.
And before I do that, there's just something that you mentioned, the ending, enjoying like finding the twist and what was going on as far as getting set up, and it was all part of the plan. There was something for me that I again, just if we could make it a little bit more simple all around, and you've alluded to reasons or ideas that would make it simpler, I have too. But I think for me, just something that would have been a little bit more simple is like, say they were set up and have it someone that we know was on screen. So make it the original woman who was there with the person in the hotel. Just something that ties it back to, it's not just a random person that have no affiliation with. That's just a little thing for me. With a movie that's this type of, thriller, make it significant to me, like it was this woman really setting them up the whole time and she has some ulterior motive. I don't know.
Right.
But so for me, I enjoy Pulp Fiction. Some things that I found interesting. So I read this online, but someone made the connection. So in Pulp Fiction, there's a character played by Harvey Keitel. Yeah. And his character is called the Wolf. And so he is what these guys are. He cleans up messes. He helps shady people in shady situations. So I thought that was an interesting tie.
Sure.
This next interesting tie that I found was with the bag of drugs that they find, where Brad Pitt sees it, pulls it out. He goes, I think he specifically goes, "Oh shit." And there was a dramatic period where we don't see what's in the bag. He goes to George Clooney. He wants him to look at the bag. It reminded me a bit of the briefcase in Pulp Fiction. And I think that was interesting that for a millisecond, I was going, oh, wow, I wonder what it is. My intrigue is peaking. It's growing. And I think they could have, I think it would have just been a more fun, interesting movie if they milked that a bit more. Yeah, either never saw or make it go through most of the movie till we find out. So I think that would have been a little bit of fun. Obviously the connection of you've got hitmen and you've got murderers in Pulp Fiction. You've got people who do shady things in this movie. But the fact that you make them humane, you make them interesting, they're having normal conversations. In Pulp Fiction, they're talking about cheeseburgers. In this movie, they're reaching for Aspen. They're making these characters do relatable things that I can relate with. So I think that's interesting. And this is a bit on the nose. The movie ends, Wolves ends with the two main characters sitting in a diner after having a life-changing epiphany of having a conscience basically, and rethinking how they act and how they perform and how they see the world. That seemed a little on the nose with our characters in some of the final scenes of Pulp Fiction. So
that feels like a direct nod.
Yeah. So I think some of these, whether they're direct and some maybe are a bit more subtle and indirect, but I think that I got a kick out of all these connections with Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fun.
Anything else that you'd want to hit on for the Wolves movie?
I don't think so. At the end of the day, it was just, I don't know. I think it was a situation where there was a little bit of a misdirect in the trailer.
Yes.
Which is fine. Sometimes that's justified. Obviously you don't, if you're going to have a twist in your film, then you don't want to reveal that in the trailer. I just think this is one of those situations where the twist was not a good twist, and happens early enough on in the film that it fundamentally and irrevocably changes the direction that this film is going to go on, and it's not a direction I liked.
Yeah. No, I'd agree. I think it was a missed opportunity in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Are you ready to... Is that what you're...
I think I'm ready to score it.
Okay.
Yeah.
On a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate Wolves?
This is easy for me. You know, I think it's
Oh,
a
wow.
6 out of 10.
Okay.
It's above the halfway mark for me for sure. I enjoyed it. I had fun watching it, but it's not good. It's not great. We talked about the things that could have made it better. I really would have liked having it a bit more simple, but at the end of the day, I did get a hoot out of Brad Pitt and George Clooney and their chemistry, and the bits that you didn't find worked for me, and so for that, it's above the midway point. And the thing, I was watching someone's commentary on this, and I think it's kind of funny because I used to have this system of ranking movies where it's like the worst movies are I'd only watch at the cottage if there was a VHS of it. Next level up was like I don't even remember what it was. Maybe I'd rent it, and then the next higher up was like I'd go see it in theaters. And
you need a babysitter.
Yes, that's right. If the top tier movie was like, I'm going to the theater, I'm hiring a babysitter, I'm taking the bus to get, like all these things that just you're only doing for a top tier movie. The way I heard someone describe this movie, and I think it's accurate, and I think it's just a funny connection to how I used to rank movies. This person said, Wolves is an okay movie. It's the type of movie you watch when you're on an airplane, you can watch it on an iPhone in a bus station and you're not missing out on much. It's still fun, and some people will enjoy it more than others, but it's not the type of movie where you're going to go, I'm watching this again. I'm, telling all my friends to watch it. So, yeah. What did you score it?
I give it a 5 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's just middle of the road. I would not go out of my way to watch it again.
Sure.
If I were on a plane and it was one of the two options that were on and I had no interest in the other one, I might not shut it off and read a book instead. I might just, be like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't dislike it enough.
Right.
That I'm going to actively avoid it, but I will also never actively seek it.
Would you rather watch this or Lost in Translation?
Oh, this. Yeah. No, this.
So our next segment is usually what have you watched, but I feel like of note, I want to know, did your mother not recently watch Lost in Translation?
So so this is interesting. I have disclosed this to Carl on one of the recent episodes. I can't remember what episode it was. Obviously, it's one you haven't listened to, jackass.
I'm behind. It must be a Carl one. It must be a Carl one?
Yes.
Clearly.
Yeah. So my mom watched Lost in Translation.
Okay.
Twice. Took thorough notes.
Twice.
And has made the executive decision that the film must be reviewed soon and that she is to be in that episode. Like I have no say in this. I have been told that is what's happening. And furthermore, she is giving me the Movie Men podcast treatment. I have no idea what she thinks of it.
Oh, that is juicy.
Like, I don't know if I'm hopping into an episode with the three of us. Like, either way,
yeah,
it is 2 against 1. but I don't know what the teams look like.
Oh, man. That is some juicy fruit, man. I am pumped.
Yeah. So, yes, she did watch it. She watched it twice. She took thorough notes. And she's going to be, I guess, apparently, in an episode where we review it.
Exciting.
So there you have it. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Which means I will also have to rewatch
it. Me too. It's honestly been like 5 years.
Yeah. Well, you look good. So I had assumed it had been a while.
Thank you.
Yeah. But what did you watch this week?
Honestly, it's a big not much for me. I don't think I've watched anything film-wise. Our go-to show in the family is, like, say it gets to be around 9:30. We haven't decided what we want to watch, and the clock is ticking. We'll sometimes throw an episode of Modern Family on. We've been, over the past few years, watching that. So I think we're on like season 4, maybe season 5. So I can honestly... Oh, yeah. We started...
We started
it one time. We were on vacation in 2018. We were at an Airbnb, and it was like late at night and raining or whatever it was. And it was like, hey, I've heard a lot of good things about the show, and we started watching it in 2018, and like slow burned, like channeled through it a little bit, dropped it, came back to it, dropped to it, came back to it, and now we're back on it again. So we're like maybe around season 4, season 5. So I think we're watching it slower.
A quick Google search tells me that there's 11 seasons.
We got this should do us till like 10 more years at least. It's got some legs. But yeah, I think that's about.
Yeah,
I think that's the only thing I've watched. I really need to get on the Fraser bandwagon because I haven't even watched the first season that came out last year, and now there's a second season. So I got a lot of watching and things to do. I've got Rings of Power. I am so. As we record, I think the finale actually, I think, comes out this week. I've only watched 3 episodes so far.
Oh. So you have this, it's because in a week's time, I am going to be on your case.
I know. I got to get.
Like, this review has to happen now.
Yep.
Yeah. It's solid. It's tricky. They are. They're each episode's a little over an hour. Mm-hmm. Which makes it a commitment, but is also wonderfully nice.
It's fun.
Each time you sit down to watch an episode, you have something of substance ahead of you.
Oh, for sure. It's we'll get into it when we break it down, but it's interesting for sure.
Episode 7's a crazy one.
I've heard that. Luckily I've had no spoilers, but a lot of the timeline has been going, "Oh dang, homie."
Yeah, it's big.
Yeah.
It's big.
Okay. Cool. What did you watch this week?
Watched House. We're halfway through the 6th season, I believe.
Nice.
Out of 8. So in the next month or month and a half, we'll probably wrap that up. We watched, I also talked about this in an episode with Carl, but it feels appropriate to mention it to you. We finished Lord of the Rings with my mom.
Nice.
And her appraisal of Return of the King is that it is one of the best films she has ever seen.
Wow. That's awesome. I'm happy that
nearly 6 decades of life.
So listen, I don't think I've actually come on record, so I do need to say, just in general, your mother is a sweet lady. I listened to her as she was on the Beetlejuice episode.
She is deceiving, yes.
It's also eerie how alike you both are. Like,
yes,
I've spent more time talking with you than your mother, and it's just surprising how much she reminds me of you.
Meaning you've talked to me more than you've talked to her, or meaning you've talked to me more than she has?
I've talked to you more than I've talked to her.
Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a tangent to saying I'm happy for her that she enjoyed it. I'm also equally as happy for you because I know how much you like that movie. And as a fellow film buff, when we show people we care about movies that we care about, like, there's a lot on the line. Like, it's
for sure.
It's not just like, oh, hey, you know, bada bing, bada boom. Like, if someone, like, we take it almost personally. Like, it's one thing, like, hey, you liked Wolves, I didn't like Wolves, but we, you know, I can appreciate you didn't like it, blah, 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 blah. Which is fine. That's true for all film, but there's still an emotional facet when it's like, I'm going to show you my absolute coveted favorite film. For me, it's not Return of the King in that trilogy, but that's not the point. I am happy for you both.
Yeah, it's good. She's not only as she said, like, she's like, I could just start them all over again and watch them again.
That
right now.
is interesting because part of your motivation was for the extended trilogy was you went, she's never going to watch them again. So if not now, when? So you went with the extended.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? But she's also, she is watching, like, she's sending me links to like 3-hour snippets of like 3-hour YouTube videos of behind the scenes stuff. And she's like, oh, have you seen this? I go, yeah, Mom, there's actually like over 20 hours of,
that's so funny.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, Mom, I watched it 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. So, no, it's fun. And I haven't told her that there's a new one coming, actually. But I did tell her that there's Rings of Power. I said, you know, if you're wanting to dig deeper, there's a show that for her purposes, she doesn't need to know that some of the canon's a little loose and wild.
Sure.
Like, it lines up well, and like, if all you knew were the films, you wouldn't watch Rings of Power and go, oh, hang on a second, right? Like, it works if all you know is the films. It's when you have a deeper knowledge that you go, that's not right.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
cool.
Yeah. Wrap it up, sir.
Well, thank you all for joining us. We truly appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. If this was something that you wanted to hear a review on Wolves, if you're a regular listener, or if you've becoming a regular listener, we are just super happy that you joined us. Check out our socials below. Please give us a good rate and review, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. Rate, review. And keep posted. We will be having an upcoming Halloween vote in the coming weeks. Stay posted as we have some other new releases up the pipe coming. And
Pete's turn to watch a horror film.
And stay tuned as Carl and Brady continue their series of first-time watches with each other. And just stay tuned. Just always a good rule of thumb with this show, stay tuned. And, I didn't mention, we have a Patreon page, merchandise page. Check it out. It's a way for you to support the show. Way for us to give you thanks for supporting the show. And until next time, grab your glasses when you're reading your pager.
So, you know, because I assume when we do this Halloween vote, my 2 picks will be heavy horror. Like,
I know.
Just like
my pick will be like Ernest Goes to Halloween Camp or something.
Yeah, Ernest Scared Stupid and Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin. And I'm going to have like Clutch Your Crucifix kind of stuff. So, you know, if one of my films gets picked, you got to come watch it in person with me.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, listen. Only one of us needs to be.
No. Here's the thing. I would be more willing to do that if it was a scary movie. If we go the scary movie route and Carl joins us and we made like a night out of it, I think I could go with that.
Sure. Yeah. Done. All right.
I love how we just speak for him.
You need a thigh to clench. I get it.
Absolutely. Tobey Maguire or not, just make it happen.